that I think it's going to always be a niche interest no matter what. But I do think they could be doing a lot more to build up more of an audience, not necessarily a mainstream audience. And then there will be, if they build up more of an audience, they could start to get more mainstream exposure. But, and I think there's going to be a lot of people out there who disagree with me on this, but I honestly think if it comes to like shows and stuff, if we're talking about female bodybuilders, the most muscular ones, the biggest ones, they're gonna probably, I think, need to stop looking quite as masculine, as shredded, as hard as they do, in order to build up more of a mainstream audience. I think the girls can still diet down, still shred up, lean up, but I think what the judges are asking from them is too much for most people. I understand there are several of the women that like that, but I do also know too, there's several women that admit that it is very, very hard on their bodies to continue to shred up as much as they're trying to, as the judges are having them. And then here's another thing too. I believe, and I don't just believe, I've actually been told this from some female bodybuilders. The judges are actually um, judging the women with basically the same criteria that they do the men. And I think just because both have muscles, I don't think it's right to expect to judge women muscularity in the same category as a man, whether they're doing steroids or not. Because biologically, women, even if they are more muscular, are going to build fat and water retention in certain places. And then also, too, they have wider hips and stuff and less broad shoulders than us. So when these judges are having them try to like become super top heavy and then penalize them if they have bigger waists or hips and or thighs in relationship to not so much waist, but bigger thighs and hips in relation to their upper body. I think it's overall people and I've been in seen several competitions where people in the audience are turned off by that. And a lot of times the women that are the most attractive that the audience feels should win don't ever win. And a lot of times they're girls who are not as hard. They still are muscular. They still look amazing. Um, but like girls like Christina Nicole comes to mind. Like she's like an audience favorite, and she's got humongous legs. And she just in the past shows she hasn't been able, I guess, to shred up or harden as much as the judges would like. But honestly, I don't think she needs to. And the audience, if you're going by their response, they don't think she needs to either because she looks very beautiful, feminine, and has an amazing physique. But the judges don't like that. And it's kind of like, okay, if you're going to keep rewarding who y'all want to be the most muscular and sometimes the most masculine, that's just going to continue to dwindle the audience appeal towards those types of women.
Mhm. That's a good point. We have here Raheem Hamilton. He's a shit starter. He says character is what works. Yeah, there's some ladies who have some character. Unless like his girl is Natalia Kovaleva, and she doesn't have character. She barely speaks English. She can't say with 5 words without saying So but one lady who I think I just talked with Jeremy recently before we started. She's a great lady. She really represented herself as a female bodybuilder when she switched over from divisions. That is Sherry Priami. And Sherry has a great look. And the thing about her, she's a mom, she's a hygienist. She even did was on a news segment some time ago. And Sherry, she's not competing this year because she's been dealing with medical issues. And she's taking time. But she's done pretty good. Her first Olympia, she cracked the top 5. She was 4th. Now, I think probably we should deal with the medical stuff that might have maybe set her back, and that's why she in places she did last time. If you look at the lineup, you have Andrea Shaw, you had Angela Yo, Ashley Young, Ashley Jones, and Nadia Cobb Soto, and also you had Christina Nicole Mendoza. You know, and women like like also one lady who I'm a fan of that is also Sharonica Hitton, who I feel like she should have been um, the women's champion over Sarah Vilgas. I know some people don't like Sarah, but Sarah is doing like more stuff in the sport outside of it. Like she's promoting the Triple O Dynasty. She's working with other promoters. She's even trying to save her division. But that's what I think bodybuilding needs. It needs that type of person who can stand out and really maybe get attention to it. And like he's talking about Jake Wood, and I can't help it. I gotta do it time to say, yeah, say, yo, Jake, I want that money, I want that gun. He was the one who stepped up when women's bodybuilding was on the fence, when they got kicked out of the Arnold, kicked out of the Olympia, promoters stopped carrying it. He did that. But I'm saying now he's part of more of the big scene of it because of there's a lot more money in it to be a promoter and other stuff. But he still supports women's bodybuilding, not as much like he used to, but he's still supporting it. My
Um,
big brother is back.
Sorry, I had to take a business call. I got a full pro athlete coming into town, want to throw a party at my bar, so I had to deal with
That's all right, man. You gotta make your money, brother.
that.
I, I want to say that I was just drawing at the Arnold actually, and I talked to several women and men too, but most of the women who one of them who is a bodybuilder, Marilyn Yee, she's actually lives here in San Diego. But then I talked to one of the ladies. Her name is her Instagram is J Mixa, but she's Jamie. She has an amazing personality, and both of them in particular talked about the standoffish, reclusiveness of most muscle people, but in particular the women. And they talked about how that as a whole does hurt just any all female muscle because most people think that they're all mean, standoffish, don't like the average everyday person. But those two in particular, like Marilyn's a little bit more conservative or quiet, but when you start to get her to talk, she's actually very funny. And I'm like, man, women like you need to be like the face of female bodybuilding. And then Jamie, who's just a power lifter, if she was to become a bodybuilder, she would be a great ambassador because every single person who came by while I was drawing her, she was engaging with, she was flexing, she was like joking, and she's very aware of how that negative persona affects the whole sport. So I think she attracts more people and also more muscle women who are willing to be more outgoing and not as much like, oh, we don't trust the average everyday person or view all men as like creeps or something like that. I think that
Mm-hmm.
hurts a lot of the women's personas.
Well, here's the thing. I heard Tamer's brother talk about Samson Dua being in Brazil. And here's the thing. And he said, and women should take note. And I've been saying this for a long time. This dude shakes every person. He will not leave until he shakes every person's hand and meet every person in his line.
Hmm.
This guy goes above and beyond. And that's what they're bragging about him for. They said he is the perfect ambassador for men's bodybuilding
Mhm.
because not even men do that. I sit in line and shake people's hands, and I don't even charge people for my pictures. You just have to be a personable person. And as we talked about on this show, and I even called him out this weekend after Georgia's deal and said, you guys are not like that at all. They're not. They're not. Angela Shaw is a great looking girl, but what do we really see her doing for the sport? Nothing. What do we see Angela Yo doing for the sport? You're sitting here saying, if you look at the guys are out there, and now Andrew Jack, like I said last week, and these guys are taking heed. They're giving this guy Lamborghinis, Ferraris. They're suiting up his gym for free, his new private gym in London for free, because he has a personality and people love him. People love Ronnie. People love Jay. People love Dorian. People love these guys because they interacted with people. When you're on the outskirts of the sport like women's bodybuilding is now, you have to do more to be an ambassador for your sport. And they're not. They're just not. And that's part of the problem. that where is the appeal when it comes to, you can't look at everybody because you have muscle as your smo. You can't do
Right.
that.
Right.
And that's what they're doing. And when you do that, the bikini girls don't do it. Damn sure the wellness girls don't do it. The figure girls don't do it. And now you got fit model, and probably even fitness. They understand when I go to shows, there's more people watching women's bikini. And not because it's a tits and ass show, they just got more fans. They do. I mean, it's just facts. So that's why you got fit model, or now you got the fit model, and you got women's bikini. Who, if you guys ever go to shows, that place is jam packed. As soon as bikini's over, it empties out.
Yeah.
I'm a open bodybuilder. I've done the Chicago Pro where we got on stage at midnight and there was like 30 people in the audience because they all left after bikini, figure, wellness wasn't even a thought fan. But again, at the end of the day, people have to understand there's an appeal there that these women are bringing that women bodybuilders are not. And it's just facts, and Tina's been in this for 4 or 5 years, but she goes up to every person, she talks to every person, she works her ass off of Wings of Strength. And I think Wings of Strength got to a point where they say, no offense, we just got a bunch of lazy ass girls that got the handout. And that's what it boiled down to with Jake Woods. I can make more money in all the other classes than women's bodybuilding and don't have to shell out sponsorships and all this other stuff. They're going to be gone soon. And that's what it boils down to.
One, I was curious. I think the Olympia, and possibly the Arnold, is the only shows that have like a meet and greet where you can kind of like sanction to meet the athletes. But I think like a bigger show like Tampa or Atlanta or Chicago would be a kind of a nice way to add a meet and greet. And from what I've seen, the women's bodybuilders usually do have a pretty big line at the Olympia, for instance, like Angela Yo or Andrea Shaw.
But they do, though. They do have a meet and greet. I'm there as an athlete competing in the Tampa Bro. There's a half a side of fans, and the other side is my rookie season. We did that, and Dave Palumbo was the guy who was walking up to all the athletes, sitting on one side of the room. The other side of the room was fans being able to ask questions. And these girls didn't want to talk. I don't know because of their voice, impingement of how they sound, or whatever the case may be, but they just didn't want to talk. And he was walking around with the microphone to everybody, asking them questions, but these women just didn't want to talk. So the Tampa does it. When the last time I was at the Atlanta, I know they didn't do it, but the Tampa does it, the Chicago does it, the big shows at Tim Gardner, there is a meet and greet, because I've competed in these shows. The Lou Ferrigno show, there is a meet and greet when he had a show. So there's a meet and greet for them to interact with fans. They just choose not to interact with fans.
Interesting. Yeah, that's not good. They should want to interact with fans, I think.
Yeah. And like Brandon mentioned, Mary McGee, and I've had interviewed Marilyn a couple times, both me and KL. She has a great personality about her. Yeah, once you get to know her, she can be a little bit, but once you get to know her, because you have to really, really understand her, because she really likes bodybuilding. She likes the training. She likes to build muscle. I know a while back I sent her something. She reached out. Sometimes I reach out to ladies, hey, you want to come on and talk about yourself? But they say, nah, I'm not sure. Just think that's why we reach, because you need to open up and share your story. People are often curious about y'all ladies. I saw
Can't hide in the gym.
Yeah.
Can't hide in the gym.
So they interview a young lady who's not a bodybuilder. She's a dancer. She has one leg, and it was a pretty good interview. I listened to it, and it was pretty good.
Thanks.
But that thing is, you can't be afraid of what people think of you. I understand you're concerned about how people treat you, how you react around you, but that thing is, you can't always think that someone's going to be like this. Yeah, man, I really like your muscles. Yeah. No, somebody says, hey, I saw you. I just want to hear something about you. I heard your story. I saw an interview you did. I want to talk to you a little bit. I want to get to know you. You have to be open. If you're not open, there's no opportunities. Like I said earlier, I post this. Everybody's making comments. I recently Anastasia Ryder, who I interviewed a while back. Hey, come on, she has to do a little proposal kit. You can take a few minutes, you say, whatever, but you gotta make your man understand that. One lady I talked to, I say, hey, I see your link. You want to come on? She said, yeah, but she says because she's in master's class, but it does also affect your division too. because Masters is starting to grow. It's starting to expand a little bit. You got the Masters Olympia, you got the Masters World Championships. To Tampa and Chicago have Masters shows. There's some ladies who are mature age. I got an interview coming tomorrow with a lovely lady, Miss Michelle Ivers, Brent, legend sport of bodybuilding. I mean, we might talk about this. Yeah, you need to be open to just share who you are as a person. And people want to know. That's all people curious. But yes, I understand dealing with the people who might make comments like, "Oh, he's a man, yada 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 yada." But those are just those few people who don't understand or just plain ignorant.
You
Oh,
know,
Here's the thing: you don't think that just it's not just you don't think athletes. And I've been a 3-time pro athlete. That you're going to hear things that you don't want to hear from. Don't matter what sport it is. It doesn't matter.
Right.
You take it with a grain of salt and keep it pushing. At the end of the day, you don't think LeBron has heard shit. You don't think Jordan heard shit. You don't think all these people have heard things over the past span of their career. At the end of the day, I don't give a shit about a few people's opinion. At the end of the day, you need to be a ambassador of your sport. And George, you're right. Like I said before, when I went, the World Championships used to have these videos where the girls, when they go on stage, before they go on stage, they tell her like a 2-minute story. And most of these stories are like, oh, I work out. Hey, I'm dieting. Hey, I said, then you had Tina's story. And I'm not saying this because she's my wife. Hey, I run a bar. I have kids. We got games. That's a story. What we're trying to sit here and say, we want to know more about you than you just lifting weights.
Mm-hmm.
Because again,
Right.
if it's a niche thing, as Julia Wetzel said, then tell me more about you. What else do you do besides workout? What do you and your husband do? What do you guys do for fun? Like Dorian Yates says, there's going to be a life after bodybuilding. And right now, like I tell people, most people who see me like, man, you must spend all day in the gym. I said, man, I may spend 2.5 hours in the gym when I'm prepping. That's it. Because I got kids, I got clients, I got a business to run. I got a whole bunch of other shit to do to be in the gym for 24 hours. So that intrigues them. Because here's the thing. If these girls do that, then people say, well, I guess it can be obtained to a degree that I can do this because this chick is not sitting there spending 24 hours in the gym. She's maybe spending 2-3 hours in the gym, and the rest of the time the world goes on.
Mm-hmm.
But if they don't tell their story, nobody's listening. I can say it about Tina because I'm a husband, but if you don't tell your story and get it out there that there's more to your life than bodybuilding, you're going nowhere. And that's just facts.
Right. And you can't live with the mentality that you're never going to experience negativity. You're going to.
Yeah.
You're going to. I mean,
No
for
matter
crying
how
out
you
loud,
are.
look at what us guys here. Anybody here experience negativity because you're a fan of female muscle?
Yeah.
That
Yep.
you're automatically slapped with the schmo label. You're automatically regarded as a creeper because you're a guy who's a fan of it. Well, guess what? We're still fans of it despite that fact.
Yep.
Despite the fact that we get it, because I expect it. I know it's coming. But
And
then
again,
but it's like you can't shut it down because negativity is going to come your way. It's going to. It's part of life.
but Jay, it proves my point of what I said. Which woman is on this show right now?
None.
They made
None.
all
None.
those comments. They made all those comments, and not one of them was on this show right now.
Right.
That
Yeah,
proves our point right then and there.
like
you know,
my
I can
man.
say something. Nah,
Go ahead, Kale.
no, I just want to say the women that I was talking to yesterday, they didn't have a problem of the post that you was posting. They was like, that ain't bad neither. I mean, that's a good topic to talk about, because they was kind of open about it. But I wanted to hit Andrea Shaw a bit, like, like I don't be up on her like that, like follow her like that, but like when I hear her talk, I think she has potential of kind of like I would say be like in commercials or something like that. She has that personality, but for some reason it's not being used, you know.
Yeah.
I want to say that I think first off, if we're really being honest, I think most of them don't trust men, especially men who are attracted to them because of the whole schmo label. I don't think a lot of them really maybe have the energy to want to engage with people because they spend maybe too much time in the gym versus having a personality or doing other fun things that revolve around stuff outside of that. Like I've spoken to several of them, and when you get down to their routine, it's meal prep and gym, and then it's like, man, that's boring to me. Like I work out, but I mean, I'm not ever gonna try to like sacrifice so much to get to that point because I know even if I wanted to get a super ripped body, which I've tried to at times, it's just too draining. I'm just not having fun with life anymore. And maybe that's why some of them have such dry personalities. And I'll say this, the whole schmo thing and that negative, like whenever I've drawn at like a Wings of Strength shows and stuff, the women, the muscle women themselves, pretty much are almost all standoffish and don't come to my booth. The bikini girls will, some of the wellness girls will, but normally, if it's a female bodybuilder, she only will come generally if a family member or friend or something like that sees the art and is like, "Oh wow, that looks like you, mom," and then comes and brings her over. I've seen that at markets where because I do caricatures at markets and fairs and stuff, and I have the two of my main figures on my banner are muscle women, and it's funny. I don't get a lot of negative feedback from the general public when they see those girls. It entrances them, and then they're like, "Wow, like if a girl like that was around, she'd crush me." But then they also are like, some of the girls are like, "Oh man, I'm like the blonde one," blah blah blah. They're very much more, but maybe it's because it's cartoons. They're much more entranced. So I get a lot of positive feedback from just the regular general public, even if it's women and people who aren't attracted to muscle women or who want to necessarily look like that. They find it more amusing. But those same muscle women, whenever they see the art and stuff, they avoid me like the plague because I think they're like, "Oh, this dude's a smo. He's just gonna creep and like if we try to get a drawing, he's gonna like want to try to hit on us or something." And I'm not saying that's all of them. I've had several positive reactions, but it's literally like probably 1 out of 50 or
Can,
one
can,
out of 100.
I want to bounce off that a bit. Like, I don't know, maybe somebody can educate me on it, but I don't see nothing wrong with somebody trying to talk to like these women, as long as they're not being too creepy about it. I mean, it's like no, but it's not better than it's nothing like different than a woman that you see like outside in the street. Like if she's not interested, she's not interested. Just leave her alone. That's it.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of an extreme too. Oh, you can't talk to them. All they could just say is no, but I could understand that guys, we kind of take it to somewhere to the twilight zone from the stories I hear, but
Here's
I
a
don't
prime
think.
example. Here's a prime example. At the Titan show this last year, uh, Hunter and Tina were taking pictures. There's this black guy who's like, "Can I get a picture with you guys?" So I'm like, "Why don't you guys take your stuff off, take a picture?" But then he started getting weird. He's like, "Can you hit this pose? Can you hit that pose?" They're like, and after a while, but they did it because they're like, "Whatever, I'm standing right there." So, you act too weird, you may get your ass whooped, but I'm standing right there. So, but I get it. But again, it's a fascination for some fans to get up close and personal who pay all that money to come see you compete, that just want it's no different than any celebrity. And I've played pro ball, ran pro track. There's no that wants to get a picture with you. I don't understand the whole autograph thing and everything else that people want autographs and pictures with you. I had got people with people all the time. Hey, can I get a picture with you? Cool. It is what it is at the end of the day. They have to understand there's some celebrity status to what they do. And you're going to have fans of all different creeds, colors, whatever the case, coming up to you. And if you don't want that, get the fuck out of the sport, because you're going to have fans of
Right.
all different levels and elements come out of anywhere. So you have to be open to people coming up to you and talking to you, and that's not a lot of what these girls about. I've seen it at the World Championships, I've seen it at the Olympia, I've seen it at the Atlanta show, I've seen it at Tampa, I've seen it at Chicago, I've seen it at all these shows that these girls are just not that way.
Yeah. Here we got
I
a comment here. This is from Kit Kat says a lot of dudes just saying, well, as I said, this Kit Kat, I invite ladies. I say, hey, come on. But like a man, the Captain Redneck, Dick Murdoch said, like, they nothing but a bunch of yellow belly, hey, sucking dogs. So I'm just saying, you got to have the courage and come out here because we're talking about you. And if you have a problem, say something. Say something. We got here a comment from my man Raheem. He says, if there is a meet and greet and the women are not talking, then why should anyone sponsor women's bodybuilding? That's the big question. Why? Also, Raheem says this. He says, concern. This is why media training is needed for them. What is their concern? Yeah, because you need to learn how to deal with people. Just like my man, Kale says, don't be afraid of rejection. That's one thing. Or be afraid of what people think about you. Like Bernie Mac said, like, boy, if people don't like who you are, fuck them. And move on to the next person who might be, we want to say, hey, I'm a fan. I want to meet you. I want to say hello, just talk to you. Just maybe ask you about who I got you. They want to know you as you. Athletes always hear dumb ish that doesn't bother them. You have people say, oh, I can beat Derek Jeter in baseball, so on and so on. Nothing new about that. Yeah, I know. I hear guys talk about like remember Will Smith had the song I can beat Mike Tyson, and I don't know. Even though Mike is like about 60, I still won't fight. I won't fight that man with a crowbar in my hand.
Yeah,
But
I
here's
agree.
you know what the sad thing about this is, the even here in this little town of Eudora, Kansas, Nike gave their park and rec program $20,000 for girls youth sports, because right now, what is the biggest movement in the country right now? Women, empowering women in sports. Thanks to Caitlin Clark, Simone Biles, everything else. It is right now is the biggest college women's basketball. It's huge right now. Nike, what did Nike do during the Super Bowl? They put the biggest commercial of the biggest women athletes on stage to promote empowering women. But again, you have to be out there and doing things like these other girls are in gymnastics. So we talk about basketball, soccer, and all these other things that these women are doing that women bodybuilders are just not doing. It's
Right.
facts. It's
Because that's they've
marketing.
got they've got to be more outgoing. It's like I
Exactly.
think it was Brandon said, is that you got to be. It's like people are not going to come to the gym.
No.
You have to go to the general public. And
Yep.
I've said this before, and I'll say it again. It's that girl Sarah, whoever it is. She's doing more to be an ambassador, just going out to like a pier or a park or something like that,
Oh
and
yeah.
just has her little box that says bodybuilding is art and poses.
Yeah.
That's
She just
awesome.
goes out and poses. She's doing more than a lot of IFBB pros are doing to be
That's
able to advance it just by doing that. Just
it.
going out there and doing that.
You
And
know the
just
crazy.
exposing people to female bodybuilding.
You know the
And
crazy
it's
thing is.
it
Yep. We
just
talk.
it just and I stand by this. If more women did that, not just women but men as well, if they would make a commitment every week, every month, whatever it is to go and do that, go and do likewise. Find some well-traveled thoroughfare and go out with a friend who's got a camera or something. Pose for a half an hour or pose for an hour,
Mm-hmm.
and shorts and halter and such like that. Those women are going to do far more to advance female bodybuilding than all the women who, like you said, Keith, they are hiding in the gym.
Yeah.
They're hiding in the gym.
A
They
lady
got
came
to
up to
stop
Tina.
doing that. And again, there's going to be negativity.
A lady
It's
came up to
coming.
Tina. A lady came up to Tina.
You got to realize that negative and positive are part of life.
A lady
You
came up to
can't
Tina in
approach
the
it
gym
any other way.
and said she looked. Tina kept looking at her, and she kept looking at Tina, and the lady looked at Tina and goes, "I just find you fascinating
Mm-hmm.
because you don't see people like them all the time, so they are fascinating." And this is
Yeah.
a college girl. She's like, and Tina's like, is something wrong? And the girl goes, "I just find you fascinating." And again, a lot of these girls and a lot of these people are intimidated, and even men are intimidated by these women. But if you make eye contact with somebody and go over and shake their hands, like, how you doing? Tina will go up to every little girl and every person that comes up to her, engage with them. That's what you have to do. You know,
Right.
and that's what
Yeah, I agree.
they're not doing, and that's the
Mhm.
problem.
I got a great story about that. I went to a local show, the Indiana State Championships here, and I was there with a friend, and there was this girl that we ran into, and she was from Ball State University, and she was there to do a report for her class on
Oh
women's
wow.
bodybuilding.
Hmm.
And I was like, do you know anything about it? And it's like, okay, yeah, I know a little bit. So, so it's like, okay, what exactly would you like to know? It's like, and then while we were talking, Kira Newman was right behind us because I mean, she's number 2 in the world in women's physique at this time. So I
Yeah.
mean, so it's like he said, you want to talk to somebody? You want like one of the absolute best sources you could ever possibly get? Turn around and talk to her.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The girl tensed up. She was like, I don't want to. Because she
Hmm.
was afraid. I
Really?
mean, people are intimidated by muscular women, but I was
Yeah.
like, look, I will take you over, okay? So it's like,
Hmm.
because I had met Kira a couple of times, and it's like talked, and it's like it just opened up for her. It's like these are not mutants from another planet. They're human beings like you. They just happen to like bigger muscles. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
So
We got a comment here from my man Raheem. He drops this. He says, "Actors get too she can't act. I can do better than them, but actors keep it moving. Stay humble and do press tours. All right." And also, it says this. He says, "Creeper. Yet they said sport by OnlyFans. You know." Also, this is from Lawrence Perkins says, "Hello, everyone. Hello, Lawrence." And he just dropped to me on IG says birthday's coming up on Wednesday, so happy pre-birthday, Lawrence. If I just announced that for you. Also, this is from Raheem says, Andy Shaw will be the San Antonio version of women's bodybuilding. Wins but doesn't talk. Well, there you go again. Starting shit.
And here's a fascinating thing, and I was thinking about this the other day, and let's all think about this. You have three of the best women bodybuilders ever that come out of Michigan, like Raheem said. They have the Detroit Pro. If I was those three women and you have the Detroit Pro, I would be the biggest advocate trying to push women's bodybuilding into that show than any other show. Think about
and
it.
if I was the promoter, I would be going on every local radio, every
Hmm.
local TV show. I'd be trying to see who are the most popular podcasters in Detroit. I mean, and especially like I believe it's been mentioned already that are not in the bodybuilding community,
Yep.
Hmm.
that are out in the public, the general public, and doing
Yeah.
that. Turns out Dan Solomon does, in fact, do that. I didn't know whether or not he did that when it comes to the Olympia or stuff like that, but I did see a snippet of him on a local TV, local talk show talking about the Olympia. So
Yeah.
it's like
I saw that too.
that's what the promoters need to be doing,
Yeah.
and I just wonder how many of them are doing that.
Well, besides the
And so,
promoters, I think that's something the fans can do too. And I've actually done that a few times and succeeded in getting enough hype to get the local media to cover some of these ladies. And I think the fans that are listening in maybe make an effort to do that. And it has to be kind of timely. It has to be newsworthy. And, a lot of times if a woman's getting ready for a show, that's when I think the media is most interested in actually interviewing them and getting some footage at the gym and talking about their lives like we talked about. One thing I want to mention too that the ESPN coverage back in the day of bodybuilding shows, they used to do some really cool segments on these bodybuilders and talking about their lives, outside the gym
right.
and have footage in the gym too. But I always like those I thought those were always really interesting and informative and kind of humanized these ladies too. And they also had the backstage interviews that
Hmm.
try to catch them, not just the winners, but sometimes most of the ladies that were on stage. And I thought
Right.
those were really
Hmm.
cool. I'd love to.
Well,
I'd love to see.
There was a show called American Muscle Magazine
yeah,
Yeah.
that
I
was
remember
on, that
that.
was on ESPN, And that's exactly what you're talking about, David. Is that's what they did? Is that they would focus on some? It was men and women alike, and it wasn't just all about bodybuilding and training. It was their lives. It's like, what are they involved with?
Muscular Develop used to do a segment called, Day in the Life of a Bodybuilder. And I've done it a couple of times when I was an amateur, where they follow me around from the time I woke up to the end of my day. And it's from waking up, doing cardio, to cooking my food, to going to see my chiropractor, to training my athletes. It's a whole thing. And so, again, that's what humanizes these people. So then instead of people just looking at them as freaks and unnormal, they understand that they are regular women and regular human beings that have regular lives, but we never see.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here we got a comment from my man Raheem. He says, trust men, don't half of them have a boyfriend, husband. Don't trust men that. Okay. Also, he says, you know what creepy dude singing songs about LeBron James? Dudes saying that they want to call LeBron James daddy, like his wife daddy's creepy. And also, we got a comment from Raheem, because he says I'm going to wait till Mike Tyson's 80 to fight him. And then here's from Lawrence says, Raheem, we'll see how that goes. So
Right. But also, I think something else that I think is part of the problem is the definition of the word schmo itself.
Yeah.
And I noticed this is something Heather Armbrust, who placed second, I think, to Alina Popa the last time that she was at the Olympia, she even pointed this out. She said, unfortunately, guys who support women's bodybuilding, they're not bodybuilders themselves. They look like most of us here. We're automatically labeled schmoes. And we're automatically labeled creepers because we're not bodybuilders ourselves. And it's like, for me, the whole fan schmo dichotomy is ridiculous. Because what it's what it's saying is that the fan doesn't have any of that, doesn't have sexual attraction. But the schmo, they're only doing that. I'm like, that's bullshit. The far and away more accurate description was, of course, from a female bodybuilder themselves over on RX Muscle. This is back when forum boards were the primary type of social media. And she said it beautifully. She said the fan and the schmo are both interested in and attracted to the muscle suit. But the fan, unlike the schmo, also is consciously aware of and has respect for the woman who happens to be wearing it.
Yeah.
So I thought that was way more accurate. That both fans and schmoes alike are attracted. It's not like we're not. That's been the case. That's the case we've been for 40 years.
The girls with the guys are with are not bodybuilders.
I know.
Right.
yeah,
I know. But I mean, unfortunately, we get stigmatized because of that.
Yeah.
And it's like I think that's part of the problem, is that because they have this stereotype of what a schmo is like. It's like, look, I've never had a session ever in my life. I've never done any private webcamming in my life. I've just donated money. Just donated. Didn't make anybody do anything for it. Just gave them the fucking money. And it's like but because I look the way that I do, I get slapped with the schmo label all the time. It's all a stereotype.
Well, gentlemen, we have here the man, the shit star himself, Raheem Hamilton. He's here.
I guess the question is, before they started dating these guys and the relationship that they're in now, were they schmoes before they entered these relationships where they got these guys? And
right
now?
And the thing is, I find so much hypocrisy. I find so much fucking hypocrisy, because it's like the guys are the loudest saying, "Oh, look at that schmo there, and look at that schmo there." You're fucking married to one. What's going on there? Or they're in an intimate relationship. They're pointing here. They're pointing here. They're pointing there. They're not pointing to themselves.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this? Right. And it's like, I look at that and it's like, they say, okay, what does that mean? Do you reluctantly have sex with her? Are you reluctantly in an intimate relationship with her? Like, oh, gee, I guess that's part of it. What the hell are you doing? I mean,
I was
if
just
you're going to go by the definition of schmo that you're sexually attracted, then guess what? You're the one of the biggest ones in the world.
I just want
So
to jump in and say I want to say because I have dated a few that they are like I guess a sizable portion of them do date other bodybuilders, but there's a lot of them they do just like guys that work out too. So I've never competed, have no intentions of ever trying to, but I'm pretty athletic and I do work out consistently throughout the week. So there's some common ground in regards to putting effort into working out, all that type of stuff. They respect that in normal guys, and I think you don't necessarily have to work out like a bunch in order for them to remove that schmo label. But at the end of the day, I think even with guys that work out, even with other bodybuilder guys, I think they'll throw that schmo label on if they get this sense that he's too attracted to them. I think there's um, when I've encountered some of them, like there's a lot of them that because they see the muscle women that I draw, they think that I'm automatically attracted to them, and I'm like, truth be told, I'm not, especially as I'm getting older, I'm not attracted to most of you all. Like not how I used to be. And it's mainly because of the personality thing. The more I've encountered their personalities, their standoffishness and all that, it's an immediate turnoff for me. So I'm just like, I'm more attracted to the girls that I'm drawing than you all because I see through. I feel like I see the cover up. A lot of them are using the muscles as a cover up for something else. And one of the things I wanted to mention too that I think would, because I used to do actually a lot more free drawings for muscle women than I hardly ever do them now, and it's because it doesn't generate as much business for me as it used to because the girls themselves, they may post it on their Instagram story once. They don't do much else outside of that. There are a few that have been like they go and show it to all their friends and other competitors and like, hey man, there's this cool artist. Like go reach out to him to get drawn, get hired, hire him. That like I need to put foot on the table. So when I started to see that more of the girls are not necessarily doing that, and then sometimes we'd agree to do a drawing, I do a promo drawing, and then they wouldn't even share it or anything, and then it's just like, okay, well, like I spent hours on that, and this is like a skill that I've developed and a passion I've had for my whole life, and I got scrutinized for liking muscle women, getting called gay and all this other stuff, like you ladies, it's like you ladies don't care about any of us who actually cared about you. And not all of us just cared about you just because it's like, oh, like I just want to like worship her muscles and all that. Like Keith was bringing up, some of us are fascinated behind what it takes for a woman to pursue that. Like someone like me, I grew up loving Wonder Woman. So even though she's a fantasy character, when I used to see Muscle Woman at least, there was like this belief that hey, like maybe they're like a Wonder Woman and that they're pushing boundaries. They're good people. They're trying to like empower women, all this other stuff. And a lot of them say they're down to do that, but then when you actually interact with a lot of them, they're just very selfish, very egocentric.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's
I
happened to
remember,
me too, actually.
I remember,
Sorry, go ahead.
I remember when I went to Savannah in 2022, and I was just, my first Bible show ever was went. And then I'm like looking at the show, and I'm taking some pictures, and I see outside of my out of my right eye, is Donna Salee. Donna smiles, sticks her tongue out, she hugs me. We talking back and forth here and there. There's the part when she, like said, George, you want to take a picture? I said, yeah, let's take a picture together. At that same time, at that show was a person named I did not speak. She was there. And then she felt like, well, can't take a picture too. And just her energy wasn't the same as Donna's. Donna is just generally a nice person. David, you interviewed her. I know Keith, you met Donna a few times backstage. Yeah, she's a genuinely nice person. I mean, I've been talking to her because I know she's been taking a sit back because she's been on some stuff, and right now she wants to take some time with Spider-Man. Don't want to bother too much. But certain people when you meet them and you say, "Wow, it's a great opportunity to meet you and to talk to you," they genuinely like that because like I got to meet Alina Popa. I talked to her a little bit. Alina's a great person, amazing lady. Beautiful. I mean, this is the big we talked about. Maybe bodybuilder could have been saved if she won Miss Olympia back in
Yes.
2013, 2014. We talk
Yeah.
about that. But the judges went with Iris. And one thing about Iris is a great physique. I don't think Iris she's kind of pulled away from herself from bodybuilding. Maybe if there was more respect for her, not just as a woman, but also as an athlete. Maybe she would like to promote more. And the thing was that she was trying to make money, but we all know, like you talk about Sansa Dewar, those guys can make money from bodybuilding. Women, it's a lot harder for them because most times product companies don't use them. Even though they use the product, they don't use them. Only other than Andrea, who's like mutant, her and Lola Montez are part of that. Generally, most of the ambassador athletes are mostly the guys. And then you look at division like bikini because it's very feminine and it's easy to push that one. It's more like the pageant look compared to women's bodybuilding. Lady I've become friendly with. Her name is Marianne. Marianne used to come on here. Her and Lori Conley. I know Lori's right now, she's prepping. Marianne, she's going through some stuff. I enjoyed when he came on here. KL, which you see a while ago, he had a lady who was also been on here, Nicole Strauss. Monica Johnson's been on here. It's great when I get the ladies who do want to come on here and share stories. But when I post, say, hey, come on board, talk about this. We're having a discussion. This is about you. But you know what? You can make all these comments, and then some of the comments will be made by people who are not even bodybuilders, who just want to get attention. But this is the thing about this.